His kids think he's a star athlete, but they're still very young. You're listening to Game Points with Matthew Ross on TSN Radio 690.
Final segment of Game Points, just ahead of ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, the pregame show, and we can't do it without talking some fantasy baseball.
It's time once again for Game Points to bring in the expert. Rotowire.com senior editor Jeff Erickson, here to teach you more than what you learn at that fancy school of yours. So take the crayons out of your ears, shut up, and listen good. Here is Jeff Erickson.
And you can follow him on Twitter.com/Jeff_Erickson. Hey, Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Matthew. Yourself?
I'm very well, thank you. I like how I mention Twitter.com every single time as though 90% of people don't use Twitter on the app. But anyway, I digress. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us. As always, really appreciate it. And we always have fun with it. Let's start off with something that a player that might be of interest to our listeners. We had the Blue Jay game earlier today. Pretty good start from Drew Hutchison, 5 2/3 innings. We know he's good at home. We saw that last year. But what did you like today? And are you bullish on him moving forward?
You know, he dodged a couple of raindrops, gave up a couple of big bombs, and I worry about that in that ballpark, even though he had the better home split last year. You know, it's like in 2014, it didn't always play out that way, so I don't know if that carries through. To me, he's a spot starter. You got to find like the weaker lineups that he goes against. I'm still a little nervous about him because of his big fly tendencies.
Jeff Erickson from Rotowire.com joining us here on the program. Chicago getting a big win today, 9-0 over your Reds. Condolences, Jeff. Rizzo, a couple of home runs there. He's got 8 now on the season. What is his ceiling power-wise, Jeff?
You know, I think he could get a 40-homer season at some point in time. And my Reds, they're playing the role of the Washington Generals right now, the loyal opposition to the Cubs. They just get steamrolled by them almost every single time. They're doing their best to get a better draft pick. And even with that, they're 9-10. They're not that bad so far, but we know that pitching is going to be pretty tragic in the long run. So I kind of expect it to get worse. They'll probably trade away Jay Bruce at some point. The Cubs, they keep scoring a ton of runs. And it's not batting average driven. It's power driven and getting on base. They get a lot of good walks in the system. We know they're going to strike out a lot, so their batting average is never going to be great. But they figure out the 3 true outcomes a lot, and it works well for them.
Jeff, any concern if you're the owner of Dallas Keuchel given his slow start this year?
A little bit. I didn't like the outing against the Rangers this week. I didn't like the walks early, but he's had one start at home so far. And we saw last year he was far better at home than on the road. I think getting a little home cooking will help him. I still believe in him in the long run. So I think it's the time to go trade for him right now.
Jeff, another win today for Matt Latos. He's now 4-0 with a .74 ERA for the White Sox, who were 13-6, surprisingly to some.
Yeah.
I mean, you know this guy. He played for some teams you follow, of course. What did you expect this?
I didn't, but I also didn't expect him to be fully healthy, and it looks like he's fully healthy. He's not striking out a ton of guys, but, man, he's getting it done. I thought he was a little bit luck-oriented in terms of, like, batting average balls in play, but that's not the only component out there. Inducing weak contact is a skill, and he's doing a good job of that so far.
Jeff Erickson joining us from Rotowire.com here on Game Points with Matthew Ross, just wrapping up ahead of ESPN Sunday Night Baseball's pregame show. If we return to that Toronto game today where they beat Oakland 6-3, Bautista gets his 4th home run of the year, but a guy who doesn't really get a lot of headlines, and I think he's so darn good. Josh Reddick hit his 4th this year. Do you expect another monster year from him?
Yeah, quietly, he gave up a little bit of power to hit for better average. And, he's healthy again. A lot of these guys, they have displayed a skill once in their career, once or twice, and it's not just a high batting average, a fluky high batting average, but a real power skill or real ability to do one particular thing. means when they're healthy they can repeat it. And I think that's the case with Reddick.
Jeff, looking ahead for this Boston-Houston matchup tonight on ESPN, who is your must-play for this matchup?
I would probably, I like taking a lot of Red Sox here against Feldman. I'm just not a believer in Scott Feldman, so I'm probably loading up on left-handed Red Sox players. David Ortiz for starters. I think Travis Shaw is a pretty good start. It sounds like Bogarts is going to be back. Watch out for that a little bit there. He might be a sneaky good matchup. Has had a good history against Feldman in the past. And then on the Astros side of things, I mean, they get to face a left-handed starter and a particularly untested one in Henry Owens. So I'd like Altuve and Springer at the top, too.
Jeff Erickson joining us from Rotowire.com. Jeff, Yordano Ventura gets his second win of the year this season. He's been a very good player for the KC Royals. They win 6-1 today over Baltimore. A very good quality win today. He's 2-0, as I mentioned, 2.35 ERA. Is there a chance? Could this guy have one of those years this year where he maybe gets into a top 5, a top 10 Cy Young kind of conversation? Does he have that ability?
He does. I think he's learning how to harness his stuff. We know about the velocity. We also know about the temper. I think he needs to control both of those a little bit better, and good things will result. He's got a great defense behind him, a great ballpark to pitch in. Things are set up that he could take that leap for sure.
Looking at the Red Sox starter tonight as we wrap up with Jeff, you mentioned Feldman, kind of a so-so starter with the disappointing Astros so far, but Henry Owens, kind of an interesting guy, huh?
He is. He's had fits and starts. I don't like this matchup because the Astros are better against lefties. At least most of their stronger hitters are right-handed hitters, Altuve, Springer. Carlos Gomez off to a poor start, but he's in that mix. You look up and down their lineup, a lot of right-handed hitters, so it might not be the best setup for Owens tonight, but the Astros are struggling right now, 6-12 to start the season. I don't think many people saw that. Maybe it's the time to face them before they really heat up.
Tell us about Rotowire.com.
We've got all sorts of tools to help you do well in your fantasy leagues, not just at the draft table, but during the course of the season, whether it's bidding on free agents or trying to decide to make that trade or not, or just keeping up on all the latest news. Many of us play multiple leagues, or many of us play daily fantasy sports. We have tools to help you in all those sort of aspects of the fantasy game.
Jeff, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Enjoy the game tonight.
Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, there you go. That's Jeff Erickson from Rotowire.